Thanks for being here. A couple rules of the road. I see people open up their pouches a little bit. No drawing yet, no coloring yet. Leave your papers down, and we'll get started in a minute. So thanks so much for being here today. This session is it's meant to be a creative reset. It's a busy conference. It's an opportunity to take a break from the busy pace of the conference and to re-engage with your imagination in a fun and hands-on way. We're going to be doing some drawing, but you don't need to be an artist. You just need to have an open mind and be curious. Before we get started, this session is brought to you by IndieWalls. I'm the founder here at IndieWalls, and I'm joined by Natalie, Audrey, and Alexandra. Many of you have gotten a chance to meet them. If you haven't, you should. They're great. And they can also tell you a little bit about IndieWalls. We're often referred to as commercial art consultants. But really, we're more than an art consultancy. We like our clients to think of us as catalysts of creativity. And what that means is a catalyst is something that helps reduce the amount of energy needed to produce a chemical reaction. And for us, our goal is to work with our clients to help reduce the friction to create those stories and the creativity in spaces all around the world. We really grease the wheels. We connect you with artists and help you make those spaces come to life. And we do that with artists with giant murals on the outside of buildings. We do that with original paintings in the lobbies and corridors, fiber art in public spaces. This is a framed and printed work, more traditional. Outdoor monument sculptures like we did for L'Oreal. This is a digital vinyl, a large site-specific hanging rope and wood installation, and more traditionally framed art pieces in a not so traditionally hung manner. So really all different types of artwork were really that catalyst, that connector for you, making it easier for you to bring that story and that creativity to your space. And we handle everything from concepting the artwork, to curating the artwork, to specifying and quoting and negotiating, to contract management with artists, and sourcing, procuring, installing, delivery, kind of you name it, we handle the whole process. We'll even do, sometimes you're doing an outdoor piece and you need city approval. We'll be the ones to go and meet with the city and get that approval for you. And we've done this for companies like Amazon and CBRE and LinkedIn and Virgin Cruise Lines and hundreds of other clients all around the world. And we'd love to do the same for all of you. But today, I really want to be a catalyst of creativity for your mind. I want to help you gain a new understanding when looking at an artwork about the joy and the creativity behind that work of art. We all often walk by pieces of art and spaces around us without really thinking too much about it. I want to help you linger on the layers of the pieces that you see around you every day. So to do that, we're going to do a few steps. First, we're going to do a breathing and stretching warm-up. You don't have to stand, you can sit while we do it. Then we're going to do some automatic drawing, which is kind of like a free-flowing drawing exercise. Then we're going to do what we like to call a blob exercise, about seeing and perceiving things differently. And then we're going to talk a little bit about takeaways. Okay, so we're going to start with a stretching exercise. So you can kind of sit up straight. And we're going to do 4 different stretches. We're going to start with a shoulder roll. So we're going to roll our shoulders back 4 times. Four, and then forward 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Now I want you to reach to the back of your chair and do a chair twist. Kind of hold it there. Stretch your back a little bit. Hold for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now the other direction. 1, 2, 3. Great. Now we're going to stretch our wrists a little bit. Get ready for some drawing. We're going to roll them 4 times. 3, 4. Now the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the final stretch is going to be a neck roll. So you're going to roll. We're going to do it 3 times back and forth. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now, we're going to do a little breathing exercise. And the goal here is really to loosen up your mind and your body. So now we're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4, hold for 4, kind of like tracing a square. And we're going to do that twice. And I'm going to count with you. I'm going to close my eyes. It's nice to close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine as well. So we're going to breathe in first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do that one more time. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I hope everybody's feeling a little more relaxed, a little more stretched out. So now we're going to start with an automatic drawing exercise. And the goal here is really not to make something perfect. I want you to let go of perfectionism and structure. We'll use drawing as a way to reset, to be more expressive, to get into a more fluid, intuitive mindset. Artists like Miro and Masson use these methods to bypass overthinking and to really get into their subconscious. I don't know if anybody here ever gets into their own heads, gets a little bit intense there. I know I do. And I know that when I can get into my subconscious, into my gut, I have a much better sense of what I need to do. So your only job here is going to be to let your hand move freely, get into your subconscious, no destination, we're just exploring. I want you to take out the Sharpie. So you have everybody has a little pouch in front of them. If you're sitting in the chairs in the back and you want to join, there's definitely extra seats up here. No requirement. Nobody's judging you for walking up front. So there's a Sharpie and there's 2 tempera markers. Take out those 3. And there's 2 pieces of paper that you have. A smaller piece of paper and a larger. The larger is underneath the smaller, but I actually want you to start with that one. So put the larger on top, you put the smaller underneath. And we're going to start with the Sharpie marker. I want you to envision the word calm. What does calm look like? And I want you to take the Sharpie and you can just start drawing, just fluidly. What does calm feel like? What does it look like? What shapes might calm express? Again, we're not aiming for a finished product here. One technique I'll use sometimes is to keep your wrist steady and draw with your arm, not with your wrist. Try even closing your eyes while you draw. What does calm feel like in your body? Feel free to take some deep breaths as you do this if that was helpful before. You can also switch up to using the tempera crayons. You uncap them, they're kind of capped, they're those colorful, thicker ones. They feel like butter as you draw. So not the pencils, but the crayons, they're tempera, they say on them, T-E-M-P-E-R-A. And again, just kind of moving your hand around. What does calm look like? What does it feel like? Maybe thinking about it in another language. It could be the word itself. It's totally free and open. Use the full page. You can also try drawing with your non-dominant hand. So if you're a righty, with your left, if you're a lefty, with your right, that really forces you to kind of get out of that structured drawing. I know for a lot of us, we haven't drawn in a long time. Hopefully this is an enjoyable way to get back into it. Okay, you can take a break from drawing. What you just did, letting your hand move freely without really trying to control the outcome, is something that artists have practiced for over a century. Surrealists believed that if you could bypass logic, you can really tap into ideas that are more authentic and true, that are more honest. And so you might be looking at your drawing and thinking, I have literally no idea what this thing is. It looks like my 5-year-old did it. But that is really the point. The point is to sit with what kind of feels unfamiliar, not to try and fix it or explain it or make it perfect, but just to kind of notice what emerges. And I often think that that's a useful way to think about art and design in a space. It doesn't always have to be immediately meaningful. It can be about the atmosphere that it creates, and really the story that the design or the art tells. The right piece can reflect your company's values, carry the narrative of the project or of the brand, and really give people an emotion as they step into the space. And when art and design does that, it's much more than just decoration. It becomes a part of the identity of the brand. Okay, now we're gonna do the second writing exercise. So I want you to take, out of the pouch, there's colored pencils. We're gonna use the smaller piece of paper this time. And there's a paintbrush also. Take that out. We're not gonna start with the paintbrush. We're gonna start with the colored pencils. It's fun watching everybody kind of organize. I feel like I'm teaching a kids class here. So yeah, we're gonna start with the colored pencils. And what I want you to do in this case is, this is the blob transformation. I want you to start drawing different shapes on the page. And they can be sort of any shape. You can kind of see some examples here. You're gonna cover about 20% of the smaller piece of paper. You don't wanna cover the whole thing. You wanna leave lots of white space. And you wanna color in those shapes pretty well. So you could draw a circle or a square or an amoeba-looking thing or a worm-looking thing, kind of whatever you want. And you can use different colors in the same shape or in different shapes. Everybody can start if they like. And again, maybe 4, 5, 6 shapes, and put them in different places on the page. So don't put them all clustered together, but move them around, again, leaving a good amount of white space. And be open-minded about how you create them. Again, it doesn't have to be a circle or a square. It could be, have lots of different pieces jutting out of it, different directions. Once you've drawn those 4 or 5 shapes, okay. Well, let's see, people ready for the next drawn shapes? I see some people still drawing their shapes. Okay, now what I want you to do is take the page that you have, that you've drawn your shapes on, and I want you to pass it to the person to your left. Okay? And if, you could pass it around the circle. You knew that this was going to come into play at some point. All right, class, settle down, class. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is, everybody, you're going to take out that paintbrush that you have, and there should be a little bit of water in front of you. And those pencils are actually watercolor pencils. So when you take the paintbrush, you dip it in the water, you can actually start painting the shapes. And I want you to kind of get back into that mindset that you had when you were a little kid, where you would look up at the clouds and you would kind of reimagine what shapes the clouds were. Maybe you thought that the cloud looked like an elephant or a house or a person that you know, or maybe it was a scene. And I want you to try and start painting what you are reimagining the shapes are that the person next to you may have drawn, or reimagining what it might be. And so you can create something that is more literal or more abstract, but really look at what was already drawn and kind of try and reimagine what it might be in your own mind. Again, there's really no rules here. There's not a right or a wrong way to do this. You're trying to see something new in something that somebody else made. You're trying to reimagine. We don't do imagination so much as we get older, but it's a really important part of ourselves. And now you can really cover the whole page at this point. Feel free to use all the white space on the page. I've done this exercise with a few different people. Sometimes people are much more artistic, and sometimes they're a little bit more modern and abstract, let's say. But you also, at this point, have lots of different writing utensils on your table. So if you are somebody who wants to use some of the other utensils there to kind of expand the scene, feel free to do that. The artistic world is your oyster. All right, let's take a break here from drawing. Again, the goal here was really to see differently. That's what artists do. That's what they help us do, to see things in a different light, in a different way. And it's something we can all practice, even outside of artwork. Whether it's a painting, or a project you're working on, or a new idea, or a problem you're trying to solve, sometimes just looking a little longer opens up something totally unexpected. A really great example of this, I don't know how many people here are familiar with the High Line, but it's this incredible park in New York City that was built on an elevated old rail line. And for decades, it sat there abandoned, it was an eyesore, and most people just thought of it as a liability. But there were a group of designers and community members who saw it completely differently. They saw it from a completely different perspective. They asked, what if we could create a park in the sky? And that shift in perception completely changed the way that people saw that place converted into a park. It also changed all the restaurants around and all the buildings around and the office space and the hospitality. Everything changed because of a group of people who perceived and saw something differently. And that is the power of seeing differently. At Indie Walls, that's what we strive to do every day, help our clients see new possibilities for art and storytelling in the spaces you all are creating. So before we wrap up, I want to kind of bring it all back together. Again, this was not about making something perfect. It was about learning to see differently. In the automatic drawing, you were really trying to let go of control, let your hand move without you trying to get to a destination. And that drawing technique is really about a practice in noticing and trusting and staying open. I hope it reminds all of you that not everything really needs to be understood right away. Sometimes it's about how something feels and what it might reveal over time. And then in the blob transformation, That was really about perception, about looking at something abstract that was undefined and trying to turn it into something that was entirely your own. And there's maybe that moment that you had when you were looking at it and you were like, oh, I kind of see what this is. I kind of see what I think it could be. And that is creative perception, seeing things differently. That's what happens when you spend time on looking at a work of art or trying to solve a problem. Something you didn't get, now you understand. And it's really not about having the right answer. It's about being curious enough to keep looking and looking again and rethinking about the problem. So, whether you're walking through an art filled lobby, wandering through a museum, or just noticing shapes in the clouds, it's the same set of muscles. The more we practice that being open and creative seeing, the more we awaken to beauty, to meeting, to imagination. And at Indie Walls, that's our purpose. Creating spaces that give people a reason to pause, a reason to look twice, to feel that spark of discovery. This is actually a digitally um, uh, impressioned mural in Aruba, a piece that we did, but really trying to get people to see differently. And every project is an invitation to wonder, to be inspired, and to carry that sense of curiosity back into your life. So I hope you got to enjoy that. I hope this was a meditative experience for you. And thanks so much for being here.